I still get messages from people to this day saying like, thank you for like standing up for your beliefs and like being a voice out here. There's not many conservative voices to look up to, especially young voices.
Today, I'm joined by our guest, Gerrin Alexander. Gerrin, tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm a recent graduate of the University of Chicago. I have a bachelor's degree in political science and one in public policy. And I'm here today representing the Chicago Thinker, which is UChicago's first student-run, independent, conservative, and libertarian voices newspaper at the school. So yes, I was the former senior opinion editor, but as an alumni now, I'm currently just the Alumni Advisor, but I can still say I was on the founding editorial board.
Why do you think the First Amendment is important?
It's to ensure and protect individual rights. When we think about how the founders wrote it out in their time period, it was a division between natural rights and positive rights. Natural rights are things that, it's pretty self-explanatory, come natural to the person without government intervention, right? So thinking of speaking, writing, praying. Then when we think about positive rights, we're thinking of those things that do require that governmental authority to be in place, and things like trial by jury, et cetera. I think there's a clear distinction between the two, and nowadays we kind of lack that distinction. And I think much of the focus needs to go back historically and just for us to think about what it is exactly that the writers or the founders were implementing and what it is that they wanted. And I feel like we've kind of lost touch with that.
In your opinion, what is the current status of free speech and academic freedom on college campuses today?
Right. As an alumni, I can speak from my own experience and say that at the university, it's this curriculum that we're learning is heavily skewed towards leftist. And I guess there's nothing wrong with that, but having the option of having conservative skewed courses, just things that I can also feel like I can participate in myself and not feel outed and cast if like it slipped that I was a conservative or something. And then also on top of that, being a minority at a predominantly white and Asian institution, specifically as a Black woman, also affected me and how I communicated with others. But at times, I'm not going to lie, there were times where I felt like, oh, I have to be careful about what I say, when I say it, and who I say it to. And I don't think that is something that should be on campuses.
You mentioned you're on the founding editorial board of a news site, for those who may not know, called the
Right.
Chicago Thinker. Can you tell us about that, what it is, and why you helped found it?
So my friends, Evita Duffy and Audrey Umberfurth, they actually messaged me. Audrey sent a message saying like, hey, I want to start a newspaper. And I was like, oh my gosh, especially now, like we need to hear conservative voices. I still get messages from people to this day saying like, thank you for like standing up for your beliefs and like being a voice out here. There's not many conservative voices to look up to, especially young voices. When I got the message from Audrey, I was, of course, I'll join. And I was the only senior on the editorial board. So a lot of our group is very young in there. I guess it was a great way to like get engaged with the younger population to see where UChicago can go in terms of like conservatism. I hopped on it because I was going through a rough time, specifically in a personal life situation in terms of friends, because I lost a lot of friends for the 2020 election. And I lost a lot of friends because of my non-support for BLM as an organization itself. So I was like, you know what, let me do something that's going to empower myself and then empower other people to step forward.
Do you think censorship is an issue in the United States? Why?
Oh, yes, definitely. Specifically in terms of big tech companies, these big tech companies silencing voices, blacklisting those things on Google in terms of like the websites that pop up when you want to type in something to get more information, whether it's like news or politics, et cetera. Just not being able to see those sources that can like allow people to think for themselves. And that's most important. I don't care if you're the opposite view. For me, I just want you to think for yourself. And then also I want you to read both sides, like learn, do the research for yourself. And when we're prevented that opportunity as individuals, that impacts how we think intellectually and how we interact with other people as well.
How do you use your First Amendment freedoms in your everyday life?
I guess I can speak to more of a sense of freedom of religion and expression. I identify myself as a Christian. That is the very foundation of my being, my faith. And that comes from my environment in my household, growing up in a Christian household. In terms of expression, well, I lost friends on campus during school. I lost friends after school, et cetera, just because of being able to stand my ground. I think anytime we engage in political discourse, it should always be about what are the facts of the matter and understanding people's viewpoints on how they took that evidence and how they argue it, not attacking your character for believing something. And a lot of times I found myself in that situation. So, and just continuing to remind myself, like, no. And I feel like I'd be doing a disservice to myself if I didn't stand true into my identity and to what I believe in my faith.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate having you and taking the time to talk to us.
Of course. No, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.